That were the questions? Okay. Thank you for the good questions. We will continue now, and we will elaborate a little bit more on this process of the weighing of the heart from a theosophical point of view. So in one of the scales, one of the pans, lies the heart of the person who lived, but is now dead or undergoing the process of initiation, and in the other pan lies the feather of truth, which cannot be bribed by anything. Therefore, this symbolic ritual is a wonderful illustration of what we call the teaching of karma. From that standpoint, man is not dependent on judges, but merely how he conducts himself in relation to the laws of nature. And the law of karma is the law of restoration, of harmony. That which a man sows, that he reaps, and not anything else. The non-harmonic acts are human, and therefore the weighing in the balance is human. And the retribution and compensation is equally human in scope. This is the justice inherent in the law of restoration of harmony. And therefore, there is not a word about forgiveness in this. And that is a very important thought. All in all, it is a teaching of hope and human dignity. For there is no human fate so low which cannot be changed for the better from this moment on. And this can and should do above all the man himself and no one else. And in the image of the progress of the initiate, in the Egyptian Book of the Dead, we show where he has come till now on this journey. And we will map this out further in the coming weeks. I have explained in the previous lecture the 3 planes of existence, roughly, that we are considering in the Book of the Dead: the physical world, the astral world or amenti, and the spiritual world. And we see now what exactly the location is for this Osiris Typhon initiation or the mystic birth. We have been talking about the Egyptian Book of the Dead, in which the initiation process and the teachings of karma are symbolically represented. In many other traditions, the same ideas have been represented symbolically. For instance, in the Eddas, as Lalibel Mohabt presented to you a few weeks ago. And also we found this same representation in the Bhagavad Gita or in the Greek myths and legends, for example in the Odyssey and the story of Orpheus and Eurydice, but also in contemporary Western culture, for instance, the story of Pinocchio. And there is also an interesting relationship in the Egyptian tradition and the Christian tradition. After all, we live in a culture where the Christian tradition has always had strong roots. Therefore, I do not want to keep from you that in my study I came across another initiation story of Egyptian origin, and that is the book of Joop in the Christian Bible. And I will show you a picture here. This is a nice picture drawn by the famous artist William Blake, who made a lot of drawings about the book of Joop. And I will give you first now the story of Joop in a nutshell. Joop was a prosperous man in the unknown land of Uz. Joop is a Hebrew name and means the persecuted. He had 10 children and large herds of cattle. according to the biblical story, God sends Satan to test Job. Will he remain sincere in his faith when his prosperity is taken away from him? Job is told that his children are dead and that his cattle has been stolen or burned, and he also becomes seriously ill. With 3 friends, Eliphaz, Bildad and Zophar, he has long conversations. They reason that the good are always rewarded and the wicked punished. And so Job must have sinned to have to endure such punishment. Job believes he has done nothing wrong and perseveres in his faith. And in the biblical story is richly rewarded for this in the end. He gets his possessions back twice, and his children appear to be still alive. The book of Job is clearly an allegory for the process of initiation and karma that plays a role in it. According to Madame Blavatsky, the book of Job is the oldest book in the Bible, even predating Moses, and is even predating the Old Testament, the Pentateuch. It is originally an Egyptian book. It is an allegory that relates to the Egyptian mysteries in the temples, and is the same story as the soul appearing before Osiris in the Egyptian Book of the Dead and being judged for his karma. And it depicts the initiation process as a process of karmic purification. In this story, Satan is a word derived from Set, in Arabic Shatana, and it's again the same typhon we are seeing here. It is not a separate God, but the Son of God, that is the lower nature of the initiate. And we find in Job 12, verse 12, the following expression: with the Ancient One is wisdom, and in the length of days understanding. And this, according to Madame Blavatsky, should be understood as in the higher part of man, i.e. Buddhimanas, is wisdom, and in the length of days, or the number of lives or incarnations, is understanding. In other words, no man can develop all wisdom in himself in one lifetime. But he can become wise and develop his higher thinking by learning his karmic lessons during his many incarnations. And thus, ultimately, he can become one with his higher self. I conclude. Our study focuses on the hypothesis that the knowledge of initiation from the Theosophia is in part still well recognized in the text of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Initiation of the mystic birth, epiphany, means that the initiate travels to the gates of the sun, is illuminated by a god, and returns as a Dvija, a twice-born. In the Egyptian Book of the Dead, realization takes place of Osiris Typhon, the letting go of the attachment to the material world and the control of material nature. The weighing of the heart is the process of realization of Osiris Typhon. During the process of purifying the lower nature, that lower nature revolts. It is called Typhon or Set or Satan, Amit, whatever you call it. Man can learn to control his lower nature through his higher thinking, but he has to practice that during many lifetimes. Initiation process and the doctrine of karma are also found in the originally Egyptian book of Joop, but also there are many other examples, such as the Eddas and the Bhagavad Gita. This is what I wanted to tell you today. So we will go now to the last break, in which you can send us your last questions. And we will start the break now. Any questions?
Yes, there's one question. You called karma a restoration of harmony, and that could give us a different view of the current situation in the world today. We have then a job to do, a restoration of the situation.
Yeah, certainly. Very true. Karma, the law of restoration of harmony, means that as long as we don't get along in such a way that the thoughts and deeds that we do are not giving, let's say, bad effects to other people or other sentient beings in general, will give a response which will be in such a way that it tries to restore the harmony. Because if you take away things from other people, or they get less possibilities to develop themselves, then they will start to resist, and they will come back to you in order to get their share of the possibilities of development. And that is the eternal process of action-reaction in order to restore harmony. And it is a dynamic process, because as soon as we start to improve ourselves and get along better and better, then the level of this harmony will also rise to a higher level, and a more subtle level. But yes, at the moment, in a world where we still are facing wars, where we have military forces fighting each other at various places in the world, and especially now in Eastern Europe, of course, we are very much aware of that, then it means that we have to work on the situation in such a way that the harmony is restored. And it starts, of course, with stopping with hostilities, stopping with fighting and ceasefires, and then taking the necessary steps to come to an agreement. But that is only the first step. You should go so far that you come really again on speaking terms and restore harmony, and take it, and again a further step to start a process of reconciliation and of building up everything that has been destroyed together, to become again as people of the world, not separate countries and separate people, but as mankind again, as one family, so the thought of unity, spiritual unity. That is the ultimate goal, and that looks still far away, but nevertheless there are a number of places in the world where these ideas are really alive, and where people tend to think more from the thoughts of unity. One simple example is that you have in the African continent groups of people who live by the philosophy of Ubuntu. Ubuntu, the philosophy of I am because we are, so the thinking in the interest of the whole community is much more important than thinking in the interest of the individual. And if you have such a philosophy, which is also rooted in the spiritual vision, like the vision in Theosophy, so starting from the boundless, the spiritual unity that is rooted in the boundless, which explains that we are all coming from the same source and going back to the same source, and that we are in fact brothers, brotherhood, universal brotherhood being a fact in nature. And if you work towards restoring harmony built on universal brotherhood, then you are really reaching harmony, be it a dynamic harmony, as everybody is continuously developing. And if you work towards that restoration of harmony, then we really get a peaceful world. But it is very clear that there is a lot of work to do, because it is not only stopping wars, but also reforming and transforming our societies, being more focused on the needs and the possibilities for development of each individual citizen. And in return, every citizen has to bring in his qualities in the totality, in the interest of all people in societies. And then we are working on a real harmonious basis, the way also Plato described it in his work, The Politeia, or the State, where everybody is doing what his qualities are, but also is giving his qualities to the interest of the totality. And I think that is, it's still a long way to go, but it is a very clear purpose. And if we, as people, stress these ideals and these thoughts, and more people are doing that, then it becomes crystal clear what the pathway has to be to come there. And it may take the first steps in this life and in the next life, but if we continually start working on these ideal ideas, then we will get there. And we should trust, have trust, and work on it ourselves, and be the example ourselves. We are, as a Theosophical organization, we are also very much focused now on this moment on spreading ideas about the restoration of this harmony in relation to the war in Eastern Europe. We are now having presentations every Wednesday evening, which is still in Dutch, on how every individual man can take his or her responsibility in this respect. We will issue the next edition of our magazine Lucifer, the Lightbringer, and giving a vision on the basis of Theosophy on how to contribute yourself to working towards a peaceful world where this harmony is restored again. And we will definitely translate this Lucifer number also, first of all in English, but also next to that in Spanish and Portuguese probably. And we will also put that on our website, I'm sure. I don't know within what time frame it will be, because we are still working on the copies of the drafts of the Dutch version. But yes, a very important question that is raised by this person. Thank you very much for this question. So it gave me the opportunity to promote our Lucifer number, where we will give our vision on how to come to peace as quick as possible in this world. and our personal or individual responsibility in this respect.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
Very clear. Yes.
Are there any other questions?
No, that was it.
No other questions. Well, thank you all for your questions, and hopefully I will see many of you during the study, which we will have next week Sunday. If you want to follow the study, please write yourself in via the website. You have to fill out a form, and you will receive some notes on useful literature to study a few pages. And we will have a nice study like we had last week Sunday also. And we will continue then within 2 weeks with the next installment of the Egyptian Book of the Dead, when we go talk about the journey of the soul through Amenti. Okay, what else do we have to do now? I think here you can see the announcement of the study of next week, and we will now close our evening with the Gayatri of the Rig Veda, an appeal to our higher nature, and it runs as follows. O thou golden sun of most excellent splendor, illumine our hearts and fill our minds, so that we, recognizing our oneness with the divinity which is the heart of the universe, may see the pathway before our feet and tread it to those distant goals of perfection, stimulated by thine own radiant light.